One. This is Logan, and we are live. This will be the final part of my record collection, and that looks like a good camera angle. Let's go with that. So, the final part of my record collection. When we last left off, I believe we looked at the ends, because I do remember kind of going through like Ted Nugent, Nazareth, things like that. So we're going to go and I'm going to actually pull up my phone right now because I am going to look at comments on there. After experimenting a bit the last time, I figure this is probably the best option. Just to kind of occasionally, I'll mostly be looking at the iPad, but occasionally I will be just kind of like looking down at my phone to see if somebody is commenting. Plus, this way the comments don't disappear like they do on the iPad. So, let's get started. Let's see. That is the M's. This, I believe, is the O's. Perfect. So, we start off with Rick Ocasek. This is actually the vocalist for the Cars. He had a couple of solo albums, and unfortunately just died a couple of years ago. In fact, I think last year? Yeah, I want to say last year I think he died. It was either last year or the year before, but he will be missed, unfortunately. We haven't... It's a shame, because we hadn't... Well, I do think we had like one Cars album maybe about a decade ago, but they've been kind of laying low for a little while, which is a shame because the Cars are one of my favorite bands. Ocean, Put Your Hand in the Hand, pretty prolific one-hit wonder. I don't have the record sleeve for it. I think that one might have actually been sort of like a hand-me-down. Here is The Offspring. This is self-titled. Not as many people know about this album as much as they know about things like Americana and things like that. This one is a lot more of a raw album. Pretty standard, more so like punk rock. Hadn't quite gotten like some of the more exotic like ska influences and things like that. Also, this is blue vinyl, if you can see that. Let's see if I can get it in here this century. Yay, we got there in the end. Next up, here we have Mike Oldfield. This is Tubular Bells. Absolutely fantastic instrumental prog album. You will know like the song Tubular Bells as part of The Exorcist, how that opens, but this entire album, it's a double length song. It's a double-sided song, epic. Tubular Bells and Tubular Bells Part 2, and it is just absolutely fantastic. As is this album. Mike Oldfield... Amadon. This one, actually, I picked it up fairly recently, and it honestly might be a little bit better than Tubular Bells. Honestly, if you like Tubular Bells and kind of just want more of it, and maybe even a little bit more ambitious, check out this album, Amadon. It's on Spotify, or you could just get the vinyl of it. Roy Orbison, the all-time greatest hits of Roy Orbison, double LP set. Roy Orbison. What is this? There is only one Roy Orbison. I believe this is... No, this isn't a greatest hits compilation. I believe this is an official album, but there you go. And then there is this one, Roy Orbison. Roy Orbison is just one of my vocal inspirations. I talked before about like Paul Rodgers. Roy Orbison is kind of in the same vein. I just love his voice. I think he was just plainly just a pioneer in terms of music. Outlaws. Here we have Blizzard of Oz. This is a picture disc, and I'm very happy to have that. Following that up, we have Diary of a Madman, or as I like to jokingly call it sometimes, Diarrhea of a Madman. This might be my favorite of the classic Ozzy albums, but realistically, it's a tie between that, Blizzard of Oz, and Bark at the Moon. No Rest for the Wicked also comes pretty close. I don't have that on vinyl, unfortunately, though. I will have to work on that. We have Speak of the Devil. This is a live recording that they put out. Pretty much just as a response, my understanding is pretty much just as a response to Live Evil by Black Sabbath. This is basically Ozzy doing an entire set list of his era of Sabbath songs, so like Symptom of the Universe, Paranoid, Iron Man, things like that. And it's a pretty cool set. Sabbath had already released a live album with certain Sabbath tracks, the Live at Last, and that featured Ozzy. My understanding is the label was more in charge of that. This is a pure live album with actual mastering, actual production, and you can tell this definitely has the full kind of arena rock polish that would define Ozzy's solo career and really benefits a lot of the Sabbath tunes as well. Kind of a good transition between Ozzy Sabbath and Ozzy solo. And then finally we have the most recent, as of me filming this, Ozzy Osbourne album, Ordinary Man. He is coming out with an album, probably will be released within the next few months. That one is going to be epic. That's probably going to be a sign-off for Ozzy, even though I thought that was going to be the case with this album, and I turned out to be wrong. So, who knows? Maybe, I mean, I'm pretty sure the motherfucker's just immortal at this point. I think he is, and if the singles are anything to go by, this new album is going to be absolutely epic. It already has, it's already been announced that, like, Eric Clapton is going to be performing on it. Tony Iommi is performing on a couple of songs, I think. Jeff Beck, I believe, is performing. I think they were going to get Jimmy Page, so they could have, like, the entire trio of Yardbird guitarists, but I think Jimmy Page turned it down. I think Satriani might be playing on one of the tracks. It's going to be really nice. If the singles are anything to go by. So here is the Paul Revere and the Raiders. This is a double LP greatest hits collection. This is a single LP rather. Greatest Hits collection featuring Mark Linsday's Arizona. Clearly that was kind of the big hit that they were pushing at the time. I do have that also on a 45, and that is a fantastic song. Paul Revere and the Raiders are definitely very underrated. If you want a good song to get introduced by them, I recommend Peace of Mind, Paul Revere and the Raiders. Go ahead, go on YouTube, check that one out. It's probably their heaviest song. A lot of their other songs have a very Monkees-esque vibe. Very kind of garage rock. teetering on the edge of psychedelic, but never quite getting there. Peter, Paul, and Mary, Moving. This is their most popular album, I would have said, featuring songs like Puff the Magic Dragon. I think Leaving on a Jet Plane might be on that one as well, but I'm not 100% sure there. Pink Floyd. Which one is this? A Saucer Full of Secrets, I believe. This is an album from the 60s. David Gilmour, I believe, does play on this one. Or Roger Waters. Who's the one that's the vocalist? I think Gilmour's the one who's the vocalist. Also, we have this one, which is Obscured by Clouds. I'll admit I'm not a huge fan of 60s era Pink Floyd, apart from the first album with Syd Barrett. But, I don't know. I think, like, they kind of went in sort of a too experimental direction. By the time the 70s came along, they kind of worked out, I think, better how to properly manage the experimental side of their group with the kind of more poppy, polished side. And I think Syd Barrett sort of worked that out more early on. And I think if Syd Barrett had lasted a little bit longer, we probably would have gotten the golden era of Pink Floyd a little bit earlier than we ended up having. But at the same time, the albums that would precede, I am perfectly happy that they ended up the way that they did. For example, Amagama, which is a combination live album as well as studio album, so it's a double album set. Again, this one is very on the psychedelic experimental side, as is this one, for the most part, although they did kind of start getting into some of the more accessible territory that they would fully come to realization on with Dark Side of the Moon, my absolute favorite, not just Pink Floyd album, my absolute favorite album of all time. You can go to the TikTok thing that I posted, and I've been kind of talking about my 50 favorite albums, and you will see number one, it's on the turntable, Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. Absolutely phenomenal album. I would not change a single thing about it. Same would be said with Wish You Were Here. Wish You Were Here is also a pretty good album. I just think maybe it's a little bit too short. It has about 5 songs, 2 of which are over the 10-minute mark. I say I wouldn't change anything about it. Maybe just like you could like shorten the intro for like Shine On You Crazy Diamond. I think it kind of drags a little bit too much. I love the song, and I love the meaning behind the song. I just think the intro might be a little bit on the long side. I would have maybe done that and then maybe tried like another song. I don't know. This is not a bad album, don't get me wrong. I just think there are maybe some minor things. Also, I don't exactly love the title track. It might just be a symptom of overplay, but it's just not really my favorite Pink Floyd song. Here we have Animals. This is a really good album. I wouldn't necessarily call this one my favorite either. It has things like Pigs, 3 Different Kinds, which, by the way, all the people who are complaining about, oh, Roger Waters is too political now. What do you think those 3 different pigs were? Who do you think the pigs were? Who do you think the dogs were? What do you think this fucking album is about? It's a nod to George Orwell. It's a nod to Animal Farm, the book that is quite literal anti-communist propaganda. So I think people are just upset with Roger Waters because now he's more overtly political, meaning he is making it very clear what politics he stands for. And I think a lot of the people who thought that maybe Pink Floyd could have been interpreted either which way are now just realizing, no, this is what Pink Floyd was all along, and it makes it harder for them to enjoy it. I mean, I don't know. For me, I own music by liberal and conservative artists. I own Ted Nugent records. I own Kiss records. I own a lot of different things. And really, what it comes down to is I think a lot of people just need to separate the music from the political message. And if you agree with the political message, fine. If not, there are other things to enjoy, possibly. If you like Ted Nugent, don't not like him because of some of the things he did or some of the stances he's made in the past. If you like his music, listen to it. If you don't, then don't listen to it. If you don't like Ted Nugent, even including the music, don't listen to it. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. No, that's at the end. This is actually my not my favorite, but my second favorite Pink Floyd album. And this is one of the most mixed albums I've ever seen. It runs the gamut from people saying this is the best Pink Floyd album to this is the worst Pink Floyd album and one of the worst albums I have in my collection. This is my second favorite Pink Floyd album. It has a lot of good shit. It has Fletcher's Memorial Home. It has Not Now, John. It has Closer. It has a lot of really good shit. I recommend listening to this. If you've been on the fence about listening to this album, I say give it a shot. It is definitely, if you don't like Pink Floyd because of how political they are, this is probably the most overtly political album they have in their discography. But I still say it has a lot of good shit. It's mixed really well, really good instrumentation, really good production, and just really good music overall. Anyway, moving away from Pink Floyd, we have Robert Plant. Pictures at 11. This is a pretty good album. This is a pretty decent kind of transitional period between what he was working on with Led Zeppelin, especially with the sort of, I would say, more new wavy sound of In Through the Outdoor, and what he would go on to do with this album, Principle of Moments. Now, this is another one of my favorite albums. In fact, I do believe it is on the list. And I don't think a lot of people will tell you that. But hear me out. I think this is the ultimate relaxation album. This, I think, is borderline on shoegaze. It is just such a nice, relaxing, and peaceful album. Not to mention, it's mixed really well. I believe Phil Collins actually does the drumming on this album, which is pretty neat. But Principle of Moments by Led Zeppelin. Fantastic record. Do yourself a favor. Next time you need to unwind, go on Spotify. You know, if you have it in your record collection, don't sleep on this. Put it on. Next we have Robert Plant. This one is... I actually don't remember the name of this album. Where is it? I don't I can't find the title for... Oh, wait, no, I found it. I don't know, I can't quite read it. This album is, it's the one that came after Principle of Moments, though. I would say, I have listened to it, and it's not as good as Principle of Moments, I would have said, but it's still an alright album. Same can be said with this one, Now and Zen. It has definitely it goes in some very experimental directions. Like, for example, it has, like, sampling, there's, is it called Sunspot Baby? I can't remember. Or am I thinking of the Bob Seger song? But, anyway, it, like, samples, like, classic Led Zeppelin songs, which is a little bit funny because of how much Robert Plant has gone on record and said how much he sort of despises old school Led Zeppelin and some of his work that he did there. And finally, this is the most recent Robert Plant album. I partially got this because I was promised that it would be colored vinyl. It's not. But it's an alright album. I mean, he's been kind of on a folk rock kick as of late, and it works when it wants to. I wouldn't say it's as good as his older stuff, but it's a neat direction, and it has its fans. The Police, I believe this is self-titled, so the one with Roxanne. Ghost in the Machine, fantastic record, but not quite as good as Synchronicity. This is another one of my favorite records. Very much captures the dawn of the Thatcher era of England, I think. You have, especially Synchronicity Part 2 really does. But the entire album, it takes a lot of steps. It takes a lot of chances musically. A lot of different arrangements, different types of songs. You have Mother, you have Misc Walking in Your Footsteps, very prehistoric song. Synchronicity is kind of like the more traditional sort of rock song. Every Breath You Take is sort of like a pop song. Wrapped Around Your Finger, sort of like a ballad. Very chock full of variety album. Highly recommended. That is also on my top 50 list, I believe. Elvis, Aloha live via satellite, Aloha from Hawaii. If I included live albums, I might actually have put this in the top 50 as well. You know, with the new Elvis movie coming out, I think a lot of people are kind of... He's starting to have a bit of a resurgence in popularity. And if you are somebody who has kind of just gotten into Elvis as a result of that movie and don't have an idea of where to start, right here. Right here. Right here. Listen to this before listening to anything else. This entire album, I think, contains the best of Elvis Presley. I wouldn't... Beyond that, I don't know of any other albums specifically that I would recommend, but this is a really good live album, and it's mixed really well. That said, I don't know if this is necessarily one to have on vinyl, and here's why. Let me show you something. So... Oh wait, no, never mind. I thought this was a Dynaflex record. Never mind. I think a lot of these records are Dynaflex, though, so... no, this is quad disc, which I don't actually believe means quadraphonic. I think it just means it's a double album set, and that's RCA's fancy way of saying that. This is another Elvis album, another Elvis live album, Double Dynamite. Again, very much like Live via Satellite, has a lot of that sort of Vegas sound to it. Elvis Now, Greatest Hits compilation. Actually, is this on RCA or is it a Pickwick? No, it's an RCA, and this one is Dynaflex. Whenever you see this on a record, walk, don't run, because that means they use cheap vinyl stock, and look at this. That is how thin and fucking flimsy these records were. A lot of people... I have a bunch of Dynaflex albums in my collection, and... I mean, one part of me kind of says, like, okay, you have to deal with this because this is how these records were, and I usually prefer to go original over remasters, even if they might be mastered a little bit better. But on the same hand, it's just like, why the fuck did they do this? No, they did it to cut costs. That's why. That is the pure reason why. It did not sound better. In fact, it almost always sounded worse, and was very prone to dirt, scratching, and especially warping because it was so thin. And then finally we have this Elvis album. This one is another Greatest Hits compilation. Now, I bet you were eyeing this the entire time, assuming anybody was watching. This is a box set of SF Sorrow by The Pretty Things. This is another one of my favorite albums, and I didn't already have it, so I decided, you know what? I am going to spend the extra money and just get the box set, because it actually has... I'll quick open it up for you. First of all, it has like that neat little inner art, but it has a whole bunch of goodies in here. It has this version of the album, which is the original British version, and I believe this houses the mono pressing. This, which I believe is how the album was released over in America, and this is the stereo pressing. Actually, this might say... no, it just says SF Sorrow, The Pretty Things. This is a live version of the album, narrated by Arthur Brown of the Crazy World of Arthur Brown fame. And we also have these. These are singles. Actually, let me just check to make absolutely sure. No, that's just... These are singles. So... I'm not gonna read off what all of these are, but you can see we have that. I might actually get into all of my singles. I have an entire other box of those upstairs. Loneliest Person is on this one. That is on the original album. And then, finally, this. This is talking about the good times. So, the reason to own these singles, first of all, so the benefits to this box set, I'll just start out with that. The benefits to this box set are the singles, which include songs that were not originally released on the official album, Defacing Grey being prime among them. That was always available in the Spotify version, which led me to believe that it was in the official album as well. I was wrong. But also, this live album, the one with Arthur Brown, is absolutely phenomenal. It was recorded about 40 years later. They definitely still have it. And the inclusion of Arthur Brown kind of narrating it and giving a bit more insight, I would say, into what the actual story behind the album was, because it was a concept album. It's I would say one of the first, in fact, arguably the first rock opera. Um, it is alleged that uh, Tommy by The Who was very influenced by this album. Uh, that, admittedly, Pete Townsend has denied that, but it is very suspicious, I think. Uh, these albums very much come from the same cloth, I would have said. So if you like Tommy, but think it should be a single album, maybe, or just want sort of like the primordial ooze that I would say, willfully or not, Tommy definitely was a result of, then definitely check out SF Sorrow by The Pretty Things. Very underrated album. This is, I think, I said that in the Wee Small Hours by Frank Sinatra. Or no, I didn't say that. We haven't gotten to that album yet. But in the Wee Small Hours, or we might have. I don't remember if I put that in the Fs or not. But no, I do think I put that in with the S's. Anyway, it should be in with the S's. That is one of the most underrated, influential albums. Same with this, the original SF Sorrow by The Pretty Things. Anyway, moving swiftly along, we have Prince. Chad was mentioning this the last stream about Prince, if I preferred Michael Jackson or Prince. I'd say from a purely instrumental standpoint, I would say Prince. And also just purely from a quantity level, I think Prince had more quantity of good albums, whereas Michael Jackson might have had higher highs. This is a very good album, though. It features actually a pretty heavy song, Bambi. Check that one out. It's like a heavy song, but it's also this really kind of nice, sexy funk that Prince would be eventually known for. Definitely worth a listen. Also worth a listen is Purple Rain. I have this. This is a remastered picture disc. And that is it for the P's. Now let's get into the Q's. Metal Health by Quiet Riot. Fantastic metal record. Here we have... this one is... Oh, this is Queen. This is self-titled Queen. And another thing, those of you, speaking of biopics, those of you who might have gotten into Queen as a result of Bohemian Rhapsody, I know that movie's a few years old, but I would say it still has a chokehold on the pop culture. It might be worth your time listening to these older albums. I would not say they are Queen's best. We will get to that. But they are definitely good albums. Songs like Great King Rat, Jesus, Liar, Keep Yourself Alive, all very good songs. And they follow that up with a little bit more of the same, albeit somewhat more polished, with Queen 2. You have songs like Loser, great Seven Seas of Rye, which was featured somewhat on the first album, but featured in full on the second album. Then we have Sheer Heart Attack. This features their first real big hit, Killer Queen. Also features Stone Cold Crazy, which I think was maybe made a bit more popular when Metallica covered it. Still a very good song. This record is really dusty, though, I'm now realizing. Next up, we have A Day at the A Night at the Opera. This is a really good. This one has Bohemian Rhapsody on it. It has Love of My Life. I'm in Love with My Car. You're My Best Friend. All of the really big hits. And then they follow that up with an album that I don't think is revered. I don't know. I don't know if it's as revered as A Night at the Opera, but it is sort of a companion piece to it. A Day at the Races. It has Somebody to Love. It has some other songs. I would not say it's as good as A Night at the Opera, though. In fact, I would say my favorite Queen album I don't actually have on vinyl. It is, what is the name of that album? I put it on my top 50 list. It is... Is it The Show Must Go On? Or, I can't remember the name of it. But it's the last one that was released before Freddie Mercury died. We have News of the World with the very iconic and just plain awesome album cover. Next to that, we have Jazz. This is a really, really fun album. This has a lot of good shit on it. Fat Bottom Girls, Keep on Time, Don't Stop Me Now, Bicycle Race. And then follow that up with their first official live album, Live Killers. Fantastic work. Obviously, Queen, well known for being a fantastic live band. We have The Game. This was their more funk-laden album, and depending on what you believe, may or may not have been the catalyst to Michael Jackson's solo career going the way that it did. And finally, those are all the Queen albums I have as of right now. But finally, we have Queens of the Stone Age. Seeing as the frontman died, we probably aren't going to get another Queens of the Stone Age album. So this is actually the most recent and probably my favorite in general. Just a very good album. Next up, we have Queensryche. This is a later Queensryche album. I didn't really care for it. I might get rid of it at some stage, but I don't know. Like a lot of people, I just don't really like the direction of post-Jeff Tate Queensryche. Here we have the Ramones. This is their self-titled debut album. This has Blitzkrieg Bop on it. It has Today Your Love, Tomorrow the World. It has 59 and Third, I think is the name of the song. A lot of good songs on this one. And then afterwards, we have this one. This is end of the century. This one I really like because it's uniquely kind of produced. It's produced by Phil Spector, which is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because, I mean, these songs were already kind of fan fiction to that era of pop, you know, kind of like the Ronettes and things like that. In fact, this, I believe, actually has a cover of a song by the Ronettes, or it might be the Crystals. I believe it's the Ronettes, though. Baby, I Love You. But it's a curse because this is essentially a pop album, whereas the other Ramones albums were pop punk. So you kind of... The production is either a blessing or a curse, depending on how you look at it. Me, I think this is a really fun album. It has some good shit. Chinese Rock, probably my favorite song on here. And then we have Too Tough to Die. I have seen the gamut of people worshipping this album and people hating this album. I worship it. I don't actually remember... In fact, I think I might have taken it off my top 50. I think this was like in the honorable mentions that I didn't end up putting on my list, but Still a very good album. Planet Earth 1988 being a very good song. Uh, Warthog, Too Tough to Die, the title track. Mama's Boy. Great shit. And then leaving the Ramones, we have Rare Earth. I have, I think, all but one Rare Earth album. There is this one, One World. Rare Earth being the first band to be signed to Berry Gordy's Motown label. Although I think they might have been a bit shy associating a white group with the Motown label. Because even then, that might have caused some backlash. So they renamed it, and it is the... what is this? It is just Rare Earth, actually. Never mind. It's... The Motown label is very well hidden on these albums, but you have to take a good look to find it, but it is there. Here is another Rare Earth record. I have that one. And here are the Rascals' Greatest Hits. This is another one I picked up fairly recently. I'm a fan of this band. I like a lot of Rascals songs. Again, very just reminiscent of like that AM pop sound. Like, it's mixed super hot, and it has that kind of classic Loudness Wars sounds. The first Loudness Wars. Then in the 2000s, we had a similar Loudness Wars, which I don't think was really as well received. Next up, we have... This one is Rat, Out of the Cellar. Classic album. And Invasion of Your Privacy, another classic album. A lot of people kind of like to lump Rat in with like the Warrants and the Motley Crues. I don't know if that's necessarily fair. I think this is more along the lines of like the Dokken or you know, like even like kind of like the Judas Priest echelon of 80s metal. I think Rat is kind of like one of those bands that still holds up. It's still pretty heavy, all things considered. At least the first few albums. Once they kind of started phoning it in, that's when it started getting a bit more pop and like didn't age quite as well musically. So here we have Lou Reed, The Bells. This one, oh, this is Raven. This should actually be a bit further back. But, yeah, this is Raven picture disc. Actually, I'll take it out so you can see it a bit better. Here we go. All right. But yeah, this is a pretty good album. Never had a sleeve as far as I can tell, but this is, I believe, period correct. It's not like a reissue of any kind as far as I am aware. Right, here we go. Okay. Read. And This is another Lou Reed album. This one is Growing Up in Public. This is an 80s album. And here we have REM, Eponymous. Greatest hits album by REM there. This one is... what is this one? Red? No. Red something. I can't remember. Actually, I think this might be out of place as well. But this is the album with Lunatic Fringe on it. Probably their best song. And just in general, one of my favorite songs, period. One of the best slash worst named albums ever made. You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. Moving swiftly along. We have this one as well, 9 Lives. Another REO Speedwagon record. And a pretty good one at that. Cliff Richard is I'm No Hero. The Righteous Brothers, The History of the Righteous Brothers, Greatest Hits compilation. Riot. We have Naruto. So I could go on for days about Riot. I almost made like kind of like a retrospective video on Riot on another channel. But essentially, this is another one of my favorite bands, and one that a lot of people, unfortunately, have never heard of. So this is kind of an ode to their early success in Japan. This is not their first album. Their first album was called Rock City. This is their second album called Naruto, and this is an ode to their early success in Japan. And it has some really good songs on it as well, as most Riot albums do. In fact, I wouldn't even say there's like a Riot album I would say is 100% bad. Here we have Fire Down Under. This is another really, really good record by Riot. In fact, this one might be colored. It is. It is. This is a pink or yellow album. I guess this is pink, but under the right lighting. It could be translucent yellow. We could say it's like champagne pink, maybe. This is Restless Breed. This introduced the vocals of Brett Forrester, who went on to do his own band, which is also very good. But this has a lot more of a bluesy sound, very influenced by Paul Rodgers, at least on the vocal end. Definitely an album to check out. Has a lot of good songs on it. And same with this one, Born in America. I was initially kind of turned off of this album purely just by the even worse than usual album art. But this is another just absolute classic. It has Running from the Law, Vigilante Killer, has a pretty nice cover of Devil Woman by the aforementioned Cliff Richard. And finally, my favorite Riot album. This one is Thundersteel. Great power metal. This was at the genesis of another vocalist, Tony Moore. And Riot was a band that had lineup changes basically between albums. In fact, there would be members that would come and go. And in fact, the only consistent member was Mark. I can't remember his last name. But when he died, the band basically reformed. It had Tony Moore on vocals, and it had some of the other members specifically from this era of Riot. And they started calling themselves Riot V, or Riot 5, depending on how you choose to interpret the V. But that is how they tour now. They did release one album a couple years ago. I don't know if there are any immediate plans to release more, but if they do, it would be very welcome, because the last album, it was released in 2018 and it was fantastic. Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is probably my favorite soundtrack of all time. The movie itself, I can kind of take or leave every so often, but I definitely put this soundtrack on every Halloween. It is an absolute staple for me now. Here we have Rodriguez, Cold Fact. This is one I found through Spotify. Spotify will occasionally recommend me music. And this is an interesting kind of folk rock band. Acoustic rock, I guess you could say. It has some songs like Sugar Man. So Rodriguez came out of Detroit, put out only 2 albums, I believe, worth of music. Basically, his career went nowhere until years later he found out that he was really, really big in apartheid era South Africa. Believe it or not. And as a result, he started touring South Africa for quite a little while, and the small venues that he played with in the 70s were now packed huge arenas in South Africa, because this was arguably bigger than the Beatles in South Africa, of all places. But it kind of makes sense. It's sort of music in a similar vein to like Bob Dylan, albeit maybe a bit more polished than that. So, you know, it appeals to the working man, the downtrodden, in that sense. So, here we have Rolling Stones, Out of Our Heads. That is the album with Satisfaction on it. Yesterday's Papers. This has Ruby Tuesday, Something Happened to Me. Title track, Yesterday's Papers. Good shit. This is Hot Rocks. The Rolling Stones, 64 to 71. Actually, I think that should be in fact, it should be a little bit further out. Sticky Thing. Do I not have? I might have done something with my copy of Satanic Majesty's Request, but I do have that album. Anyway, Sticky Fingers. Let me actually just check something real quick just to be sure. Oh, no. Okay, no, I see what I did. I put this a little bit ahead where it should have been. That is my fault. Anyway, this is Satanic Majesty's Request. It's not in very good shape, but it does have the lenticular cover. So you probably can't see it on camera, but if I tilt it back and forth, the image changes perspective. Cool effect. I'm always a fan. And then here we have Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. Really nice concert. Then we have the greatest hits. Then we have Sticky Fingers. This does have the zipper. It is a little bit worn out. It doesn't work exactly as it's supposed to. But the record itself plays fine, and that's all that matters. Oh, God. You know what? I'm now realizing. So this is Exile on Main Street, and there you go. There is the mark of death. It has finally happened. So I heard somewhere a record collector saying, you can tell when somebody has a good Rolling Stones collection if on the back of their Exile of Main Street record, you have this. This is the zipper from Sticky Fingers cutting into the plastic. I am so glad I actually wrapped this in plastic for this exact reason. That is that wearing into the album of Exile on Main Street. And then, let's see. Yeah, let's see fingers. Goat's Head Soup has Star Star, Dancing with Mr. D, Angie. My favorite Stones album is probably Let It Bleed, and unfortunately I do not have that on vinyl. I have been looking for that for quite a while, been trying to find it at a decent price. It's Only Rock and Roll, Rolling Stones. Some Girls, this is another one of my favorite Stones albums. Very good. This is one of the later ones. Basically, they got the rights to a lot of the celebrities on this album without their actual permission. And then later on, they requested to be taken off of the Rolling Stones album. So what they did in subsequent repressings, in subsequent shippings, is basically paste over it. We have, this is Black and Blue, I believe. And we have Dirty Work. This one is brand new. Well, it's not brand new. It's not sealed, but it is still in the red shrink wrap, which this album, for whatever reason, came in. Here's another box set. Diana Ross. This features songs from the Supremes as well as her solo career in the 70s and 80s. It is a 1, 2, 3 record set. And it pretty much has all of the Diana Ross that you could possibly ask for, even though I do think I have some more. David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. David Lee Roth, his solo stuff is not a personal favorite of mine, but it's all right. Here we have Worry by, I actually don't remember who this is. This is another one I got from that VNYL thing that I mentioned on the last stream. Here is the Ruddles. This is interesting. This is a parody band of the Beatles, and I believe they had their own television show, sort of a la like the Monkees. They had songs kind of arranged in a similar way as the Beatles, and in fact, I believe these songs were actually produced by George Martin, the original producer of the Beatles. Here we have Todd Rundgren. Here's another Rundgren album. This one, I believe, has Heavy Metal Kids on it, which is my favorite Rundgren song. And here we get into some Rush. First of all, here's a live show that is on a picture disc. It is the Electric Ladyland New York City Sessions from 1974. It's a live show. Here we have Fly By Night. This is actually a slightly later repress since it's on the 1980s, mid-1980s Mercury label. Caress of Steel. Again, also a repress. I believe like a late 70s repress. Early copies of that had like a much thicker vinyl card stock, and it was illuminated. Illuminated. Rush 2112. I believe that's an original press. Farewell to Kings. This was apparently actually came from a radio station, as you can see by the I believe you can see there by the writing on it. Yeah. Hemispheres, I believe original pressing. Permanent Waves. This is my favorite Rush album. So I do have Moving Pictures by Rush. It is possible that I might be giving this to a friend because he really wants it too, And I do really like this album, but I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorite Rush albums. There are some choices that they made with this album that I don't fully agree with, production-wise and mix-wise. I'm kind of waiting to see if there's like a really good album that he would be willing to trade. But it's possible I might not have that album for very long. But for right now, I just thought I'd show it off. Exit Stage Left, live album, double LP. Signals, really good album. A lot of people kind of will look at this as sort of like the beginning of the end for Rush, at least in the 80s, when they kind of started going in a more synth direction. I disagree. Synth era Rush is not a cakewalk, as we will see with probably the last Rush album that I own. But, yeah, Signals is definitely a very good album. Subdivisions is a classic. Analog Kid has probably some of the best bass work of Rush's entire career. Rush is just one of those bands where, like, every single aspect of it works. And that's why Rush can never exist anymore, because Neil Peart is now dead. Here we have Grace Under Pressure. Pretty good album. I wouldn't say I'm really as much of a fan of it as others might be. And finally, we have Power Windows. I actually recently just got this album. This is a repress. And this is a 180 gram reissue. It's not. But it is a modern day remaster of the record. This album, I would not say is particularly good, but I would say that it is better than some people give it credit for. Okay, so I'm actually going to have to go back behind and put the camera down a little bit, because now we're going to get into the S's. And we do have a couple... We do have quite a few in that stockpile. Okay, so starting off, we have. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's the M's. Starting off, we have this Saint Vitus. This is a translucent record. Saint Vitus, if you aren't aware, is doom metal, kind of in a similar vein to Black Sabbath there. Here we have Santana. Actually, did I leave my phone? No. Okay, I see. Santana's Greatest Hits. I am looking for Abraxas, because that's probably the one Santana album I am actually interested in getting. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This is the soundtrack album, featuring music from the Bee Gees, Peter Frampton, Aerosmith, Alice Cooper. The movie itself was a flop. The soundtrack, however, did very well, just on the star power alone, I think. But you do have some pretty good Beatles covers on this record. Saxon, Wheels of Steel, classic new wave of British heavy metal. And they followed it up with Strong Arm of the Law. Fantastic. This is the Scorpions. This is Virgin Killer. Yes, this is the version of Virgin Killer I have. No, I don't want to go to jail and try and find the other one. Basically, there is a version of this album that is quite literal child porn. And it was released in the US. However, as you can probably imagine, very quickly it was ripped off of shelves and replaced with this. I believe it was released in the U.S. It might have only been released in Europe, but I think I have seen that in limited quantities it does exist in the U.S. Here we have Taken by Force, another early Scorpions album. Tokyo Tapes, classic live album. And then after that, Yuli John Roth left the band, and we got Love Drive. There's a bunch of different cover variations of this album. This is the one that I have. Generally speaking, I would not say Love Drive is a very good album. This one is, however, Animal Magnetism. And you just gotta, like, marvel at the balls of the Scorpions to release some of these album covers. Like, they are controversial, yes, and they are meant to be very offensive. Well, actually, from what I understand, no, not really, but they are. That said, they are just so, like, laughably stupid that you can't help but not be offended at it and just sort of see it as the absolute shit show that it is. Same with Blackout. This one isn't, like, as overtly sexual as some of the previous ones. Also, there exist versions of Love Drive where there's, like, this, like, absolute, just, like, Chad nice guy. I don't want to say Chad because, like, there's actually a Chad in my chat who's awesome, but he's, like, pulling gum off of a lady's breast. It's just so sleazy and stupid that you can't help but love it. Anyway, Blackout. This is probably my favorite Scorpions album. But not too far off is Love at the First Sting. This is another good one. In fact, this is a, I want to say, German import of Love at the First Sting. Worldwide Live. Pretty good live album. I would say Tokyo Tapes is better. Savage Amusement, this is kind of when the Scorpions started to fall a bit, and they never really recovered. I have not listened to the full new Scorpions album, but from the singles, I can say it sounds very mixed. So, I don't know. It's just like, that's a lot of investment to put into a Scorpions album. It's over an hour long, and it should not be that long. Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, Live Bullet. This has the version of Turn the Page that ultimately would become a hit. Then we have Night Moves. This used to be one of my favorite Bob Seger albums, and honestly, it might be still kind of up there. It didn't make my top 50, but still a very good album. It has Fires Down Below. It has Sunspot Baby, Night Moves, Rock and Roll Never Forgets. A lot of good shit. Main Street. This one is Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, Stranger in the Night. Or Stranger in Town, rather. And here we have Del Shannon. Much in the same vein as Roy Orbison, I say this is another one of my vocal inspirations. This one, Del Shannon, what can I say? He was just a pioneer in so many ways. Musically, in a lot of ways, really. Like, he was just kind of a tech nerd, really. And he was always on the cutting edge of whatever was new musically. Are we done? Are we done? Okay, good. Anyway, don't ever buy a Roomba. They're terrible. Yeah, Del Shannon, rock and roll pioneer. Like Runaway, for example, one of the earliest recordings with an old school, I can't even call it a synthesizer because that's too old. I guess like an electronic keyboard. Even though then that might still be giving it too much credit. It's just so primitive. But it adds a really nice sound to that song. And there's a lot of good shit from Del Shannon. That album specifically has some covers. I think it has some Beatles covers on it, actually. Never Mind the Bollocks, Here Are the Sex Pistols, Repress. In fact, I think it might be a European repress. I'm not 100% sure, though. Wednesday Morning, 3 a.m., Simon & Garfunkel. I own all of the Simon & Garfunkel records. That one is a lot more folk. Then we go into Sound of Silence, which kind of gave them the edge that they really needed. And features a much better version of the song Sound of Silence. That was on the first album, but it was a purely acoustic song. Simon & Garfunkel, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. The Graduate, the soundtrack to the movie The Graduate, in which Simon & Garfunkel did a lot of the soundtrack. Bookends, this featured the hit version of Mrs. Robinson. I don't believe the soundtrack did. Well, it was featured in the movie, but for whatever reason, I don't believe the soundtrack version, I don't believe the soundtrack album had a full version of Mrs. Robinson on it, believe it or not. Bridge Over Troubled Water. That is my favorite Simon & Garfunkel album. Just an amazing record. This is when they reunited a couple of years later and did Live in Central Park. Sort of their one-off show. And here we get into some Paul Simon. This is Paul Simon debut. 50 Ways to Lose Your Lover. This is Simon & Garfunkel Live Ryman. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, Live Ryman. Pretty good album. Also features some Simon & Garfunkel on there, if I recall correctly. And then we have this one, which is... Oh, this is Nina Simone. Another one of my favorite live albums. Just really good blues tracks. This is on the Philips label, and I believe this is a European pressing, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. We have... Here's the Sinatra album. Okay. If you want to know more about this album, please take a look at the polyphonic video on it. But essentially... Right, I did kind of talk about this a little bit in when discussing the Jackie Gleason 10-inch album I have, because the original copies of this were 10-inch. It was a 10-inch double LP. Then they released it as a 12-inch single LP, and they did that because Sinatra wanted this album to be taken seriously. And I can't blame him, because compared to all of his albums, this is the one that really should have been taken seriously. I don't know how many people know about this album today, but I would argue it is the most influential album ever. Ever. It's a concept album, first of its kind, you could argue. It has album art, one of the first albums to really do that. A lot of early albums were just like, here's somebody's face over a background. Here are the greatest hits of this art, you know, things like that. This is a collection of songs meant to be played in a certain order, tied together with a certain theme. And that theme is depression. This is a man who had just gone through, I believe, his third or fourth divorce. And his hits were kind of starting to fizzle out. He was pushing 40, kind of going through a midlife crisis, you could say. And this is very reflected in the music. Give this one a shot. Even if you aren't a fan of Sinatra, check that one out just from a purely historical point of view. Here we have Slade. This band was a lot bigger in England, but still had some hits in the US. The reason a lot of people might know Slade nowadays is because the two biggest hits from Quiet Riot were covers of Slade songs. Those being Come On Feel the Noise and Mama We're All Crazy Now. Bang Your Head's not being a cover, to my knowledge. This is another Slade album. This one is from the 80s. Here we have, oh, what is this one? I don't remember, but this is another one that came from the VNYL Club. Here's some more Supremes with Baby Love. This is a Pickwick Records reissue. Next up, we have... what is this? Oh shit, this is more... Here Goes Rhyme Simon. Okay, I'm gonna need to put that back a little bit because that belongs here. In fact, I think it's here. Yeah. Okay. And next we have Spooky Tooth. I have a couple albums by Spooky Tooth. This one is Spooky 2. It has tracks like Better By You, Better Than Me, Evil Woman. This is just a really nice kind of like psych rock / proto metal album. Better By You, Better Than Me would be more famously, or in fact more infamously, covered by Judas Priest. That is infamously the song Priest was put on trial for allegedly influencing a teenage boy to commit suicide. And this is why I will never be monetized. More Spooky Tooth. Tobacco Road. Actually, I think this one comes first. Spooky Tooth and Peary Harry, Ceremony. This is, I believe, a collaboration they did with a German electronic group. This features a really good cover of I Am the Walrus by the Beatles. A really heavy kind of cover. And then finally we have You Broke My Heart So I Busted Your Jaw, Spooky Tooth. Another one of my favorite album titles. Oh, and we have this one as well. This is... oh, what is this one called? I can't quite read. The Last Puff. And I believe those are all the Spooky Tooth we have. All right. Dusty Springfield. Dusty Springfield, Stay a While. It includes I Only Want to Be With You. You Don't Own Me. A couple of songs. Very good. I don't remember if Spector himself actually produced it, but it has that type of sound and came out around that era. Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run. Let me quick check. No comments. Darkness on the Edge of Town. This is a heavier Springsteen album. He was going through a lot of things when he released this. He was in apparently a bunch of lawsuits and different things along those lines. All came about and created some pretty good music, though, so you can at least say that. Speaking of good music, we have his double LP, The River. Born in the USA, classic pop. We have Bruce Springsteen, Tunnel of Love, and this box set, 1975 to 1985. A bunch of different shows from that era. And this is, well, it comes with this booklet, which is cool. It has 1, 2, 3, I think 4, 5 albums? 4, 5, yeah, 5 albums. Pain to get back in, but we got there in the end. Anyway, just a compilation of different periods of live shows. Here we have Billy Squier. This one is, I want to say Rock Me Tonight. The infamous song that was ruined by the music video. Ringo Starr. Steely Dan. This is Countdown to Ecstasy. Classic record. Steppenwolf. This one is At Your Birthday, something like that. Here is another Steppenwolf record. I can't remember which one it is. Again, some of these are kind of hard for me to read. Steppenwolf Live. That one's pretty easy. Another Steppenwolf. Here we have Steppenwolf Gold. Here we have, is that also part of the same? No, this is, I'm sorry, this is also part of the same collection. It's just kind of broken into two. And then here we have this, right. This is another Steppenwolf album. Wait, no, this is Steppenwolf Gold. I actually don't know what this one is. What is this, actually? This is another Steppenwolf, it looks like. Anyway, here's Steve Miller Band, Fly Like an Eagle. And Abracadabra. Here we have Tea for the Tillerman by Cat Stevens, classic acoustic folk album. Here we have Foreigner. This one is a little bit more, I'd say, experimental. Rod Stewart, Every Picture Tells a Story. You Wear It Well. Another classic early Rod Stewart album, just after he had left the Faces. Blonde on Blonde Action. This has Do You Think I'm Sexy? And then Tonight I'm Yours. This features a very good song, Young Turks. And finally, we have, at least in this part, we have Stryper. But I'm not done, as we actually have a few more. We actually have a few more to go over. In fact, I have so many S records that it needs to be split up into another, it needs to spill over into another shelf. So we have Styx, self-titled. Or I'm sorry, that's Styx 2. This one is Styx Equinox, I believe. This one is Crystal Ball, I believe. Here we have Grand Illusion. This is my favorite Styx album. I have seen Styx live, and they are fantastic. Pieces of Eight has a lot of great songs on there, including Renegade and Blue Collar Man. This one, I think the album is just called Babe. We have Paradise Theater, and the cream of the crap, as it is often called, Kilroy was here. Look, I like this album, okay? I'm a fan of it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just another Styx record. But it's a good Styx record. It has some good shit on it. And Mr. Roboto is just delightfully cheesy. It did just ruin the band, though. Suicidal Tendencies. This is one of their more recent albums. It is World Gone Mad. I'm a fan of Suicidal Tendencies. Supertramp. Even in Their Quietest Moments. And Breakfast in America. With the infamous cover. Some conspiracy theorists have actually pointed out that the World Trade Center is not in the skyline of this album. And I guess you can piece together what you think that means. Sweet. This is... I don't remember the name of this album, actually. I remember it being slightly funny, though. If It Feels Good, Wink It. Another Sweet record. By the band Sweet, and also just a record that is sweet. System of a Down, self-titled, debut album. Next we have Toxicity. And System of a Down, Mesmerize. I have seen Hypnotize and Don't Copy the CD. I'm not as big of a fan of those two albums, so I've kind of been putting off collecting them, but they are there. And I probably might pick them up at some stage if I see them for a decent price. Talk Talk, It's My Life. Good 80s new wave band. No doubt would go on to do a pretty famous cover of the title track. Talking Heads, Fear of Music. This one is Talking Heads. Which one is this? Speaking in Tongues. Fear of Music, by the way, is another one of my favorite albums. It's just so good. Has a lot of good songs. Heaven, Life During Wartime, Memories Can Wait, Air. What is this? Another Talking Heads. I believe this is their live album, of which I don't remember what it's called. And this is another Talking Heads album. Again, I don't remember which one this is. Okay. Tears for Fears, Scenes from the Electric Chair, amazing, amazing album. Purely, I mean, these are in alphabetical order. It's just purely coincidence that a lot of these bands happen to have the same sort of genre. The Temptations, Greatest Hits, Motown. Thievery Incorporated. This is a really good kind of psych pop, maybe you could call them, band, or maybe just psychedelic. Maybe trip hop. I don't know if it would qualify as that necessarily, but either way, still very good band. Here we have Move It On Over by George Thorogood and the Destroyers. And we have Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy. Not in my top 50, but unofficially, this might be another one of my favorite albums. Just has so many good, even like the songs that didn't get as big. Songs like Cowboy Song, Angel from the Coast, Romeo and the Lonely Girl, and then of course you have the major tracks like Jailbreak and The Boys Are Back in Town. I think there's a song, it's called like The Fighting Song. It ends the album. It's probably the best song on there. Thin Lizzy, Bad Reputation. This one, there have been some recent defenders of this album. I'm not going to be one of them. It really just doesn't have the memorability and especially the bite of the last album. Three Dog Night, Golden Biscuits. That's a greatest hits. This one is Harmony. Shambhala. Supposedly that album was really rushed to a point where they didn't even bother cutting a stereo mix of it. So they just kind of had to do like a pseudo stereo mix for the album. This one is The Show Must Go On. There is an alternate cover to this that was banned in the US and was not released over here, I believe, until a later CD reissue. Top Gun, the original motion picture soundtrack. Obviously, a lot of classic songs on here. Take My Breath Away, Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins, the Top Gun theme, Playing with the Boys. Toto 4. Pete Townsend, Empty Glass, great album. Traveling Wilburys, this is the supergroup, including, among others, George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison. Very good shit. Of course, it was short-lived because first Roy Orbison would pass away, and then not too long afterwards, George Harrison would die. And then, of course, many years later, Tom Petty would also die. George Harrison, or Bob Dylan is the only member of Traveling Wilburys, I believe, to still be alive. Rock and Roll Machine by Triumph. That is, I believe, a re-edit of the Canadian release of that album. Here we have Laid on the Line, Triumph. Allied Forces, my favorite Triumph album. Definitely a good one to quench your classic rock thirst. And we have, I don't remember the name of this one, but this one really isn't as good. I'd say Allied Forces is like the last good Triumph album. After that, they kind of started going in a more mainstream direction. Twisted Sister, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. Of course, later that would be eclipsed in every way by Stay Hungry. Better album art even, better music, better sales, just a better album. Listen to Stay Hungry. But, you know, don't sleep on You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. It's a decent album. Ah, yes. Bloody Kisses by Type O Negative. This is a special edition. It has the first... it's a double album that features, the entire album. And then a bonus disc which features a couple, like, alternate versions. And it features Black Sabbath from the Satanic point of view, which is, just kind of funny. I love fucking Type O Negative, man. I especially love this album. I almost got a tattoo of this band. That's how much I like it. We have... Which one is this? This is... Oh, U2. I think this is Boy. Yes. Next we have War. Fantastic record. Under a Blood Red Sky. Good live album. The Joshua Tree, probably my favorite of their classic albums, but not my favorite U2 album. Believe it or not, that would be this one. And if you've never heard that album, all I can say is go on your phone right now, because it's probably there. This is the album that U2 inexplicably downloaded against most people's want or need a copy of on pretty much everybody's iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch. And they got a lot of backlash for it. And as a result, I think a lot of people didn't really check out the album because it's really, really good. I'm not saying that practice was good. In fact, it might have been one of the worst decisions in rock and roll history, or just in music history, really. Then again, there was those music CDs that Sony put a virus on and had to recall. But, yeah. It's just a really stupid decision. My understanding is that Bono was kind of the one who spearheaded the idea, so Apple was sort of more skeptical of the idea, but they went through with it. UB40, I don't mind UB40, they're junk food. They are the epitome of junk food. UFO, here we have UFO, I don't remember the name of this album, but it's the one produced by George Martin, which gives it it gives it an interesting sound. I'll say that. The UFO Club, this is another one I got from the VNYL service. It has kind of, they described it as very Pink Floyd-esque. It definitely has that sort of psychedelic vibe to it. And it's pretty good. Check it out, the UFO Club. Here we have... Uriah Heep. Right. This is, I think this is actually self-titled, but the original name of the album was Very Heavy, Very Humble. And it was released and slightly altered in the US. This one, I believe, was also... Oh, no, wait, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. This one is Demons and Wizards. That was released, I believe, the same in the US and the UK. The one... I guess I don't have it. It's, what was it? Salisbury? Yeah, that's it. Oh, no, this is Salisbury. I think. Oh, no, Sweet Freedom. Never mind. Here we have The Magician's Birthday. Return to Fantasy. And the last one in the U's, The Best of Uriah Heep, which I can probably get rid of because I probably have most of what's on that album. Anyway, moving down to the V's, we have Vampire Weekend, another one of my favorite albums. It's really kind of a tie between this one and the one they released later. Vampire Weekend. What is this? Father of the Bride, Vampire Weekend. This is a double album, so you could argue it drags a little bit more than Vampires of the City. But I don't know. I'd still say both albums are very good. Here's to hoping that their next upcoming album, which I don't believe they've announced yet, but it's due any year now. Let's hope that's even a fraction as good. All right, here's the Van Halen. Van Halen 1, my favorite Van Halen album. Also one of my favorite albums of all time. Van Halen 2, not really quite as good. It feels a lot like the table scraps from Van Halen 1, which my understanding is it basically is. Women and Children First. Fair Warning. Another great Van Halen record. Diver Down, not that great of a Van Halen record, but still pretty good. 1984 Van Halen with the nice cover of the baby next to a pack of cigarettes. I just love covers of babies doing cool shit. I think that's why I like the Demon Baby album cover on Born Again by Black Sabbath. And then we get into Van Hagar with 5150, which I used to hate this album. As time went on, I kind of started to warm up to it a bit. This one, I'm still not a fan of. OU812. It's just not as good as 5150, I think. 5150 is memorable. OU812 has some memorability in it, but it's just not as good. Here we have Vanilla Fudge. Has some really good, like, kind of garage rock, psychedelic rock. Really nice kind of hot mix to it. This is The Vapors. Mostly known for the song Turning Japanese, but this entire album, Nuclear Day, Nuclear Day, Newclear Day. Very good. Back to front. In fact, I think that was actually in the runner-up for my top 50 albums. This one is Tom Waits. I don't remember the name of this album, but I fucking love it, so. Yeah, good album. Cold Water is on that one. Big in Japan. Actually, I think that's the name of this album, Big in Japan. What's He Building in There? There's a lot of good stuff on that album. Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good. Classic. Joe Walsh, So What? Wait, wrong band. This is Joe Walsh. What is the name of this one? I don't remember the name of this one, but the big song off of this one is Space Age Whiz Kids. Kind of a neat little, like, nod to, like, classic video games. So if you're into that, which I imagine most of my viewers are. Dionne Warwick. Very nice classic album there. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 albums in a box set of Dionne Warwick. Honestly, I really should give this a listen because I'm not 100% sure how big of a fan I am of Dionne Warwick. I got this from my grandfather, so I kind of feel obligated to keep it, but I don't know. Jack White. I basically just own this album because essentially it's a super vinyl. So if you look at this, you might not be able to tell. So one side is glossy and the other side is matte. That's one thing. The label on this one, I think, is it? Yeah, the label on this one is actually playable if you have a manual record setup. One of them actually goes from the middle to the edge, as opposed to how a normal record is played. I believe this features, at least in some regard, all 3 speeds. It has like a run-out groove, sort of like Sgt. Pepper. There's just a lot of firsts in the vinyl world when it comes to that album, and I forgot to put it back in the paper sleeve. That's not going to help the already kind of damaged state that this record is in. Yeah, the problem with doing all of this cool shit is I don't think the vinyl plant was necessarily prepared for that. Jack White does have his own pressing plant, but yeah. I don't know. One of these days, maybe I'll get another copy of it, but mine kind of came defective. And honestly, though, it's just more of a conversation piece anyway, because I'm just not a huge fan of Jack White's solo. I like the White Stripes. I'm not a huge fan of Jack White's solo. White Snake, self-titled, features In the Still of the Night, and Here I Go Again. Is This the Love? Here we have The Who Sell Out. This is, I think, a Dutch pressing. I could be wrong on that. The Who Tommy. Classic. Meaty, Beady, and Bouncy, Who's Greatest Hits. And my copy of Tommy, by the way, is designed for record changers. So it's side 1 and side 4 on one record, and then sides 2 and 3 on another record. I really miss having a record changer because that was super convenient for some of my records. This is Live at Leeds, another one of my favorite live albums. We have Who's Next. This one is the one that made it onto the top 50. I'm a pretty big Who fan. I love their shit. We have Odds and Sods, Rarities Collection. Quadrophenia, finally got a hold of that one. The Who by Numbers. This one, I believe, is also European import. This one is Who Are You on the MCA label. The Kids Are All Right, the soundtrack. You Better You Bet. It's Hard. And finally... Oh, I'm sorry, no. There's also Who's Missing. This is another Greatest Hits, I believe. And finally, Who's Last? This is their final tour, at least for a little while. They did regroup and release 2 more albums. Honestly, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of either one of them. I was really hyped for the new Who album when that came out, but yeah, looking back on it, it was a little bit just too much of the same, I guess. Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings. Great album. Venus and Mars. I don't know if I like this one as much, but it's a decent one. Wings at the Speed of Sound. And if you want my Paul McCartney solo works, that is in the last video under the M's. And here we have Wings Over America. And fun fact, I'd had this album for a while before I noticed this, but if you open the album, it actually has it came with a bonus copy of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. So I think we can understand the mindset that this individual might have been under while listening to this album. I think we can put two and two together. Edgar Winter Group. Here we have Steve Winwood featuring the song Valerie. Here's another really underrated group. This is one I actually found out about through the Angry Video Game Nerd constantly mentioning this band, Witchfinder General. Check this band out if you like Black Sabbath, Saint Vitus, really any of the proto-metal, doom metal groups. This is very much in the same vein as something like Black Sabbath. Not quite as ambitious as something like Candlemass, but really good. This is their best album as well, Death Penalty. They did release another album in the 80s, though. What is the name of this one? Is it Music, I think it might be? Or no, that's a song on it. One of the two. But, yeah, Witchfinder General. I have this one on a picture disc. It's a good album. Not quite as good as Death Penalty. That said, they did release a third album. And not many people know this. This one is Resurrection. A lot of fans don't really count this one. But, because, to be fair, it doesn't include a lot of the original members. It does still have that kind of classic Witchfinder General sound, though. I was really happy to get this on vinyl for the price that I did, because usually it goes for quite a bit more. But I snagged this one. I did a quick search on eBay, managed to find this, snag it, and I'm very glad I did. Here we have Stevie Wonder, Down to Earth, their 1966 record. Talking Books. I actually just listened to this again with my friend, and it's a pretty good album. I think my favorite, though, would have to be Songs in the Key of Life. This is a double album, and if the double album wasn't enough, this one also came with a 7-inch EP. Some copies didn't, but mine did. Jeff Beck and the Yardbirds. Yes. Fragile. This features the song Roundabout. We have Going for the One. Whoa. What is this? Oh, hey! It's, the Feta. Or, no, it's the FetX. The Fet. Whatever. I don't know. Sorry. What's up, Eldiner? Not much. Just about to finish my vinyl collection. I have this shelf, and then I have another shelf that is mostly just, like, K-Tel compilations and some of my mom's old records that I still have and I'm, like, still holding on to. And just a couple other, like, sort of odds and ends. I don't know if I'm actually going to... in fact, I don't think I will. But, still. I'll just finish this up, and then I'll head out. Tornado, another good Yes album. And then we have this one. This has Owner of a Lonely Heart. It is 9025, which I don't remember what the significance of those numbers are, but I have looked it up before. Here is a 180-gram reissue of Neil Young's After the Gold Dust. This one is Neil Young, American Stars and Bars. I'm now realizing Stars and Bars, that's very much not on brand to invoke such imagery. Here is Neil Young, Time Fades Away. And another really good live album, Live Rust. This features My My Hey Hey and Hey Hey My My. It also features a couple good songs on here. Features a really good cover of Sugar Mountain. Or not cover, because it's his original song, but yeah. What order do you keep your records? Alphabetical. If you want to see everything from everything that is not in this collection, there are 2 other videos that I put out before. So these are the Ys. I group by last name, so that's why Neil Young is in with the Ys, because Young. Yeah. And this is one of the few ways I have to listen to Neil Young now, because he's not on Spotify anymore. We have The Mothers of Invention, Freak Out. My copy's not in the best of shape. I wouldn't mind replacing it at some point. Here we have... This is We're Only In It For The Money. This is actually a picture disc, but you wouldn't know it from the cover. You actually have to take the record out, and then it shows, yeah, it's a picture disc. And it's a pretty cool design as well. It's always neat looking at it while it's spinning. This is another one of my top 50 albums. If you want to see my top 50 albums, as I always say, check out my TikTok. I will post a link to that in the description once the replay goes up. Also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I have a link. I have a Twitter now. I've kind of been promoting that. If you want to be updated on things like showtimes, upcoming projects, things like that, check out my Twitter. Again, I will post that in the replay. If you want to, please check that out, or I can just tell you it is at Logan Diener. Diener is spelled the same way as it is in my YouTube channel. And I am stalling for time as I slowly but surely put this back in. All right, here we go. Actually, let me take a look. See if he has commented anything. He has. Have you watched the movie High Fidelity? If you haven't, you need to watch it. I don't think I have. I've never heard of that. I will keep that one in mind, though. I will look that up, see if it's available to stream anywhere. If not, I'll just add it to my Netflix queue. This one is Lumpy Gravy, I believe. Yeah. And then out of the Mothers of Invention, we have this one, Chic. I don't remember actually the name of this album, but it is probably my favorite. No, not my favorite Zappa album, because that would be We're Only In It For The Money. This is my favorite Zappa solo album. Has some really good shit on it. Frank Zappa is one, if you ever want to look at interviews, or even there's a documentary that's Zappa, about Zappa, just called Zappa. That's a really interesting one to look at. Zebra. This is a lesser known 80s hair metal band. Relatively popular, but maybe not as popular as, say, like Rat or Judas Priest. Here we have Warren Zevon, Werewolves of London. Amazing album. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Here we have Rob Zombie, Hellbilly Deluxe. I've gone on my Rob Zombie rant before. His pretty much everything after Hellbilly I don't really like. That said, this one is okay. This one is The Sinister Urge. And that... Oh, no, wait, no, there is one more. This is ZZ Top Fandango. I used to have some more ZZ Top. I gave a lot of it to my friend because it just turned out he was a bigger ZZ Top fan than I was. Let's see. Frank Zappa was super smart, right? Like, you wouldn't necessarily get that impression just from his music, but or just from his getup, but like, you know, another thing to look up if you're a fan of Zappa, obviously back in the 80s he was part of the PMRC hearings with Dee Snider and John Denver, and Frank Zappa might have been the best advocate for not even lack of censorship, because he knows, I think he knew better than anybody else how Washington worked. And he knew that if you just came out and just said fuck censorship on the Senate floor, it wasn't going to work out for him. So he kind of worked out a compromise. And ultimately, I think they even went a little bit to the left of Zappa. But, you know, I think he knew better than anybody really how Washington worked. John Denver was just the epitome of white bread, and Dee Snider was also really intelligent, but I think Frank Zappa really stole the show there. Joan Cusack is the owner of a record shop. Oh no, sorry, John Cusack. Sorry, I keep getting them confused, Joan and John Cusack. I think you would like it. Jack Black is in it. Okay. So is it kind of just like the record store equivalent of Be Kind Rewind then? Okay. Hellbilly Deluxe on vinyl is a good have. It is. It is. I mean, it just has like some really good album art. I mean, that alone is a good reason to have it on vinyl. Not to mention, it's just the best Rob Zombie album. A lot of his new shit, though, is just awful. And I mean, not to mention, I've already, like, said enough about his god-awful movies. Apparently, he did a remake of some movie that I can't remember, and that's so bad that I think even Netflix doesn't want it. Or no, I'm sorry, Peacock doesn't want it. Kind of, yeah, okay. Zach De La Roca makes me think of a lot of Zappa. Zach De La Roca. I've never heard of that. I will check that out, though. I'm always a fan of Zappa. I mean, I don't know. Zappa was just so musically diverse. In fact, if you look at the liner notes of, I believe some copies, might even be my copy of Freak Out, there's about 50 people that he lists as influence. I think the Beatles are on that list. I don't remember. But not a lot of contemporary ones. I think the Beatles and like maybe some others, and then the rest are like classical and jazz musicians. And then I think in an interview he said, and this interview was maybe about 20, 25 years later, he said he maybe added about three more to that list. So again, he was legit, and he was a huge perfectionist, always putting out albums, a lot of which are, like live albums and noise albums. He has over 60 albums, so I mean, it's pretty much impossible to listen to like everything in his collection, but yeah. Rage Against the Machine, lead singer, they have they have the same spirit. Yeah. And Rob Zombie is going to do a remake of The Munsters. That's what it was. But it was supposed to be a horror movie. Yeah. So it was originally, Chad mentioned this in another stream. It was originally supposed to be on Peacock, but apparently it was so bad that Peacock didn't even want it and they gave it to Netflix, which is just such a telltale sign of where Netflix is. They've just become the sloppy seconds. They've become the new Amazon Prime. Just like every other streaming service is sloppy seconds. Yeah, so I'm going to end it here. You know what? Actually, no. Since Fett is here, I will show off the. I will show off the miscellaneous albums. So a lot of these are compilation albums. Some of these are just my mom's records. For example, this was my mom's when she was young. Peter Pan by Disney. Some of these I might actually want to put in like a pack away. But I don't listen to these records. These are just ones that I have because if I don't get rid of them, my mom will kill me. Peter and the Wolf. This is Mary Poppins, I think. No, it's something else. I don't remember. This one is Disney Presents Best. I don't actually know what that one is. Another Disney record. This one is Sleeping Beauty. Here we have Disney's Merriest Songs. Sleeping Beauty. You'd think those Disney records would be worth something. Probably not really. Especially in the condition mine are in. These were definitely used very heavily. Dumbo. There are collectors of these albums, but I think they would want something in better condition than this anyway. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I don't actually... What is this? Oh, this is 101 Dalmatians. Which one is this? Walt Disney's... Three Little Pigs, I think, yeah, that's what it's saying. Winnie the Pooh, and the Honey Tree. You know what? I might have had this exact same thing on cassette, and I wonder if it's the same audiobook. Might actually have to put that on at some point. This one is, I think this one is a K-Tel. Now we're starting to get into the K-Tel compilation records. Well, this one is Saturday Night Fever, I think. I don't remember, but I do have another copy of Saturday Night Fever in here. This one is Dick Clark. I didn't actually... 20 years of rock and roll. I actually didn't know I had that. Let me see something. That is a pretty cool one, yeah. I mean, that was part of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and so what Disney did at one point is they actually broke up the two featurettes, as they called them, and put them on different VHSs. And I actually grew up with The Wind in the Willows, which is the Ichabod, the Mr. Toad half of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. I grew up with that, and I really remember that. And then years later, I got Ichabod and Mr. Toad on VHS. 2-record set, all original hits. These are all just, like, compilations, most of which are K-Tel. I think these are all original. Honestly, I could probably get rid of a lot of these. In fact, I might. Actually... What is this? County Love. Actually, I don't know which ones of these are my mom's, so I'll have to look and see which ones I can get rid of. All-time greatest rock and roll hits. You know something I just remembered? You were talking about bands that are kind of like Frank Zappa. Check out Sean Lennon. It's John Lennon's son. And he's had a couple of side projects, but he has his own solo career as well. And that one is really good. This is another greatest hits, I believe. Yeah, K-Tel. I think most, if not all of these are K-Tel. This one is Saturday Night Fever. Another K-Tel. Yeah, K-Tels definitely aren't worth anything. The Sleepy Hollow record, I am interested in. I'm not... Yeah. It's definitely really cool. This one is, I think... "14 of the Best Original Hits." K-Tel. Some Pickwick record. I actually don't know what that is. Might be another compilation. This one is ABBA. This one was my mom's. I used to have another copy of this that was my own, but Once she gave me her records, I was like, you know what? I can save space by just getting rid of my copy. I like ABBA. I wasn't a huge fan of the new ABBA record that was released. This one doesn't even have a case. I'll have to, or a record in. I might have to work out what that's actually supposed to go to. This one I think might just be some sort of compilation. These are, I think all of these just don't have records inside. Oh no, wait, no, this one does. But yeah, I think it's another compilation. Disco. Yeah. My mom, of course, was not a collector. So these are not in the greatest of shape. Heart, something like that. Wait, Diana. No, not Diana Ross. It's something. Diamond Stone. I don't know what that is. Mary Poppins. What is this? ABBA is great, good disco music. With disco music, if you can roller skate to it, you have a hit. Fair enough. Fair enough. And I would say ABBA falls into that category. Sesame Street. Again, this is my mom's. Can you tell me how to get done? I missed a stop. Sorry. SNL. High Voltage. This one is actually one I picked up, I think. It's a metal compilation. Motown Christmas collection, I believe. I do want to get the Phil Spector Christmas collection at some stage. I'm not a huge fan of Christmas music, but I do love just about everything Phil Spector, except for the man himself. He was a terrible person. This is another Christmas record, I believe. No, it's The Swinging Sounds. I don't actually know what that is. When we're, I don't know. Swingin' Tour. I don't know what this is either, actually. I don't actually remember. This can't be my mom's. I don't know whose this is. I do not at all remember getting these. What the hell? That is the worst fucking font I've ever seen. A lot of these I just can't read. Roll. Something roller. Pure roller? I don't know. Again, I don't think that's my mom's because it's in too good of shape. Good and Plenty? That might be my mom's. I don't know who that is. Let's see. Oh, and actually, I think some of these are like ones that I plan on selling. Because like over here we have another copy of Sabbath Volume 4. This is my old repress I got before I found the original. And this one is Best of Carly Simon. That was my record that I picked up. Night Ranger, that one doesn't have a case. I might frame it, or I might just get rid of it. This is my other copy of Sticky Fingers that's in worse shape that I might honestly just throw away. This one is my 180 gram reissue of... So, those are records I'm planning on selling. So, anyway, let me just take one... Hey, believe it or not, you are playing the hits for early 80s kids. I know. Well, I mean, a lot of the stuff in that collection is maybe like 70s. I'll just sit over here and read the comments real quick before I go. But let me actually see what... Hey, L. Diener. Oh, this is the Comic Man. Hey, Fett. That's a massive LP collection. You aren't even seeing the whole thing. I think you're basically... The way my camera is, I'm pretty sure you're only seeing half of it. In fact... Yeah. There you go. Or, no, you're seeing most of it. There. That's... there. I have, like, most of them in frame now. I'm gonna just work and lurk for a bit. Well, it's almost over anyway, so... you can just, I guess, watch it on the replay. It's an impressive collection, yeah. If you want to see more of it, I have 2 other videos that I made the last 2 weeks. This isn't even half of it. Yeah, like I said, there are 2 other videos that I've looked at. Yeah, so, like I said, I have over 800 plus records. So, you know, like I said, if you want to see the other 2, those are like 2-hour long plus whatever. Sweet. I'll check them out. Okay. Yeah, do so. And, you know, while you're at it, like I said, just a few quick announcements. One, I did beat that one part in Snatcher. I had to use very, 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 very liberal use of save states in order to accomplish this. But I don't think the comic book, I don't think the Comic Man is going to rake me over the coals too much for that. Also, ROM Roulette and Request, I'm always experimenting to see like kind of what people will and won't see. So I'm actually going to experiment and try doing that an hour early. So ROM Roulette and Requests will be at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hell yeah, hashtag normalize save states. That will be an hour early, so 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I don't know. I know Comic is in, what, Singapore, I think, something like that. I don't know what the time difference is, but you can work that out yourself. And then, as I also said, you can find my 50 favorite albums. I will link to my TikTok in the replay. Actually, I'm on my phone, so I can just link to that now. No, I'll just do that because the live chat's going to be going away pretty soon. Hey, thanks for showing your record collection. It's been super cool to watch. Thank you so much, Vet. Um, yeah, Singapore. I'm 12 hours ahead of EST. Okay, really? Oh, so like you are like so it's literally so it's 10:58 p.m. So it's 10:58 a.m. for you, I guess. All right. And then the other thing is I am also on Twitter. So if you want to follow my Twitter, it is at Logan Diener. That is the last. Diener is spelled the exact same way as it is on my channel. Yep, Friday morning. It is spelled the exact same as on my channel, so just Logan, Logan, Diener. And if you want updates on when I am going live, maybe some of my uploading projects, I do actually have one that I am considering making. It's too early, I think, for me to really give any details beyond that, but wait, Logan. No, it's Deiner. Actually, I will just. I'm on my phone right now, so I can. Yeah, I'm just reading the comments on my phone because they disappear after a little while on the iPad, and I don't like that. There you go. I posted it in the chat at Logan Diener. And then that will be it. So follow me on Twitter if you want. Follow me on TikTok. I'll post a link to that in the replay when this is live. I'll also post a link to my Twitter. And Rum Roulette and Requests, that'll be live at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We will see if I get more or less interaction. And followed. Okay, thank you so much, Comic. Anyway, thank you all for enjoying. It's been fun. I might show my singles, maybe my 8 tracks, maybe my cassettes, but I probably won't do that live because I don't have as many as I do my regular records. So I will probably just like do like a quick video and then post that to YouTube if you guys are interested. So yeah, if you guys are interested, I guess you can let me know in the comments below when the replay goes up. Otherwise, goodbye, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk.